On May 18th, the Pacific Chorale in Orange County will present a new commissioned work called The Radio Hour by composer Jake Heggie and librettist Gene Shear. The performance will feature members of the John Alexander Singers, Pacific Chorale's professional 24-voice chamber ensemble, and actress Eve Himmelhaber, and will be conducted by Pacific Chorale's artistic director, John Alexander. The Radio Hour is a groundbreaking piece. Heggie and Shear, the famous team that brought you the operatic smash hit Moby Dick, have reimagined their approach to create an innovative genre for the Radio Hour, a choral opera. The Radio Hour was co-commissioned by Pacific Chorale, Conspirare from Austin, Texas, the Philadelphia Singers, and Vocalescence of Minneapolis. The concert will feature an ensemble of musicians from the Pacific Symphony Orchestra and stage direction by Jim Tully. My name is Rob Eistad, and I'm the assistant conductor of Pacific Chorale. I'm pleased to lead today's discussion about Pacific Chorale's premiere performance of the Radio Hour. Joining me today is the artistic director of Pacific Chorale, John Alexander, and the composer of Radio Hour, Jake Heggie. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, will you tell us how you were inspired to develop the concept for this commission?
The first thing I would say is that for a long time, I have felt that in choral music, we need to figure out a way for our presentations to not be static. I think in this day and age when we have such wonderful ways to listen to music at home, for people to go into the concert hall to listen to music, there needs to be a visual component, there needs to be something in the music that will be more than just the listening experience. I love the listening experience of music, but I think for us to draw audiences today, we need to think about expanding that concept. So for some time now, I have been wanting to take choral music and to let it grow more towards theater and towards opera and seeing what we can do to bring those issues together. I started the idea recently with a performance of David Lane's Little Match Girl Passion. And David had said that he would like to see this this work done in a way that would allow stage movement and sound and whatever we wanted to do with it. So we experimented with that a few years ago, and I loved the process. It was well reviewed, and that brought me to the idea that we should really try to create a choral opera.
Jake, when John contacted you, how did you respond to his ideas?
I was intrigued and a little terrified and a little confused as to what it would be, how it would be realized. But I was very, very engaged because I admire John greatly as a conductor, and I love the work that you do. And we had worked together in 2006 on a piece called Seeking Higher Ground with the full Pacific Chorale and orchestra. And it was a really gratifying experience. And I think what piqued John's interest then was that I had found a story so that it made sense for the choir to be there. They were the survivors of this horrible event, the hurricane that came through New Orleans. And so they had a dramatic purpose and a dramatic place and intent. And so he had talked to me, he had hinted at maybe finding a way to do an opera or an operatic project together. And then, when did we first start talking about it? 3 years ago?
I think it was at the time in 2006, basically, when we did the first piece. That was the first time I said, I want you to go this direction.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say this about what you just said, though, Jake, in that the piece that you wrote for us was not a horrible event. It was about a horrible event, but what you did was you turned it, it was about the Hurricane Katrina, but what you did with it, and you and Sister Brigitte and Helen did with it, was that you turned it into this extraordinarily positive look to the future. And it's that positive element of your music and what you choose to do that really drew me.
Wow. Because I believe in tales of redemption, whatever that means to you. Things where something where there's hope, where there's something positive that comes out of everything that people have gone through. And I make my living, of course, primarily as an opera composer, writing for opera singers, for opera companies, songs for opera singers. You know, everything's related to the voice and to storytelling and the stage. And so John responded so wonderfully to that first piece we did together that we started talking about this, another project, and then it became very real sort of around the time of the premiere of Moby Dick 4 years ago, when you came out to Dallas for the premiere, and we started talking more in depth.
Jake, your work as a contemporary opera composer is very well known, but as you know, choral music is different. What do you enjoy about working with choral musicians?
I love working with choirs and choral musicians because they are completely committed to the music and to the musical telling of a story, a journey, a feeling. I use them as characters in operas. Moby Dick has a huge men's chorus that is very present throughout the piece, representing different points of view and perspective, and also a community voice. I love the element of community in choirs, and that's one of the things I love about music the most, is the way it connects and brings us together, and I don't think anything does that more magically than a choir. So I've always felt connected. I grew up singing in choirs in Ohio as part of my high school and junior high school training. And I think what John does with choirs is so magical because he's so focused not only on beautiful sound, but also very expressive sound that's connected to the intention of the music, the dramatic intention of the music, and he's wanted to push that and go further with that. And so I'm looking forward to challenging this choir to do things that they haven't done before, which is, of course, in a dramatic stage work, action has to happen. Things have to move. People have to move. Events have to occur. There's a reason that we're there to hear this story, and it's happening in real time. We're not just narrating about something that has happened. We're learning information in the moment. And so for the choir to take on that role of being stage performers, not just being on risers and making beautiful sound, I think is a big step, but a very exciting one.
I hope I'm not creating a spoiler here, but I'm fascinated with your idea of characterization in the radio hour. The chorus actually becomes a character itself. Could you tell us a little bit about how you and Gene came up with that concept? My librettist, Gene Shear, and I were extremely challenged to figure out what to do that would be meaningful for, a choir to perform as an operatic work on the stage. First of all, we wanted to find a story. And Gene decided, Gene was my librettist for Moby Dick, and he decided he wanted to try an original story. And we bandaged around a few ideas, some which were not so good and some which resonated, and this one resonated the strongest. And it seemed to have connections to other stories that were familiar while still being original. So it's related to Through the Looking Glass, Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. It's related to Going Over the Rainbow. It's a transformational journey. And we decided that there was a character named Nora who was having a really, really bad day. In fact, the first part of the piece is called A Really Bad Day. And that somehow she would be presented with a choice of either wallowing in sorrow and self-pity, or making a different choice and choosing something transformative and positive for the future.